Construction of the set can take place as soon as it has been designed. Here at the Bethany Theater, set construction starts just after rehearsals do. The theater scene shop is also one of the many ways that students can get involved with the production.
I love working in the scene shop. It's a lot of fun. I'm constantly learning new skills and new tasks. They're not very conventional, but they work for theater. There's so many things that just work for theater. You really gotta think outside the box, and I love being pushed on that.
My job as scene shop supervisor is to make sure the set gets finished. I work with the technical director and the director. I'm involved with some of the main building of the set, but then it's kind of my job to make sure everything gets finished and everything looks the way the set designer and the director want it to look. So there's a lot of set dressing, putting stuff together, last minute finishes, painting, things like that.
We build the props, the bigger props. Paint the floor. Pete always designs the floor, what's gonna go on there. We come up with a lot of these little tiny decorations. We pull things from prop storage to dress the set. Basically, when you come to a play, everything that you see there has been touched by many, many hands working on getting it to that point.
We are performing at a college, and there are work study opportunities and there are class opportunities, and the students actually do most of the work. In my ideal world, I am just prepping things and I am just teaching students how to do things.
Working with student help is a real blessing in a lot of ways because it's, for the most part, pure enthusiasm, especially when you have the student who is genuinely very interested in whatever they're working on, which is most of them.
One of the fun things for me is that students can come in with little to no experience, and we'll gladly take their help, and it's a learning opportunity for us to kind of show them how the different tools work, what the different procedures are for making things.
I came to Bethany not knowing anything about tools or, well, I knew a little bit.
This is a fantastic space to learn. Instead of a job where you have that pressure to get things done, here it's all about teaching and learning.
I love working with students who have never been in the shop before because it's a wonderful, hey, it's your lucky day, you get to learn how to use this tool or you get to learn how to do this.
And then there's always kind of a point too where you're teaching somebody a new skill or a perspective or something like that, and when you start to try to hand it off to them to be on their own about it, you're still there as a support structure, but you're not driving the process anymore. You're letting them drive, but you're still there to be the mechanic and try to help fix something if it breaks. That process, I think, is very exciting for both of us.
Whenever there is just a job to be done, you kind of just get thrown into it, but you learn so much from being thrown into it.
Right now at Bethany, we hire a construction company to come in and build the main frame and structure. They take about a week to do it. They bring in a crew, they know what they're doing. The structure goes up very, very quickly.
But apart from that, the set crew really does everything else when it comes to dressing the set.
This is where the tedium lies. In this particular set, there was a lot of fabric. I've worn out my fingerprints on this hand from smoothing out painted muslin. It takes an awful long time.
All the fine details to do the painting, to do the trim work, to do all of the set dressing. And to kind of watch that process take place is a ton of fun.
On this set, I helped put some fabric on the trees.
I put together a lot of the PVC pipe little tree foliage things. We did a lot of that. A lot of hours went towards that.
I did the branches on the bridge.
I also helped put flooring down on the bridge that you'll see, and also the birchwood railings going across the bridge.
I really enjoy painting. For Black Eyed Susan, I've painted the cloud backdrop, which was really cool.
I'm buried in paint most of the time. I spatter paint, I spray paint, I'm throwing paint around all the time. I'm not even that great of a painter in my own house because I make such a mess, and I just want to show my pants. This is how I am looking much of the time.
On stage, students are doing a lot of the painting, they're doing a lot of the gluing. For this set, we had to connect a bunch of PVC pipes together. Most of the PVC pipes were connected by students. It was time to raise them up in the air. We have student helpers help raising them up. We had a lot of muslin on this set, which all had to be painted and then cut into strips and then glued to the floor. All of those things done by students.
There's a lot of creative problem solving. I'm still working on getting in that headspace to where I can think outside the box in the ways that I see Pete and Phil thinking. There are so many uses for things beyond what you think they can be used for. There's this thing, what else can we do with it? It has as many purposes as you can think of. With time, I think you'll get used to it and you'll start to get more creative and be able to think like that.
We had to hang drainage tile, and then the drainage tile looks like drainage tile. So how do you make drainage tile look like it isn't drainage tile?
We didn't want to see the corrugation of the drainage tile tubes, so we basically put down layers of spray foam on the trees.
And then on top of the spray foam, we put fabric. And the spray foam basically just gave the texture of bark underneath the muslin. And then on top of the muslin, we painted on like a glue. And then after all of the fabric was done, which took forever, we had to paint it brown to look like trees. It's quite the process for the trees.
If I were to do those trees again, I would try to find a way to reduce the steps, because the steps are what take time. But in the creative process, you don't know that on the onset. So the creative process is all about discovery. Am I smarter now? Yeah, I am. Will I do these trees again? Definitely. Will I do them differently and try to reduce steps? Yeah, that's the goal. So with each of these sets that you build, you just get smarter for the next one. I love that part.
Those types of problems are things that you are constantly needing to come up with solutions to. When you're building a set, you are taking things and making them look like other things. Trying to find out what those other uses are, or what materials you can use to look like other materials, or the cost-effective ways to achieve certain effects. These are all different problems that need to be solved, and oftentimes you're just working with what you know, or you're researching, or you're looking up stuff. Every single set is different, every single production is different, and you're just constantly getting to solve problems and do fun, creative things like that, which I get a kick out of that part of production. The set helps bring the world to life for the audience, but even for the actors a little bit.
When we first came in, it was a couple days after they'd started. We were still doing read-throughs and doing some rough blocking of where we'd want to be when we say this line. And Emily mentioned at the end of practice, oh, you guys, they started the set, you should go check it out. And so we all came through and I was like, wow, that's incredible. But at the same time, that was just the bare bones structure. That was before there was all of the muslin on the set and the painting and the artwork. And so I feel like every time we've come in to run something, there's been something different about it.
There's different stages the set kind of comes in. We covered everything with some camo netting and it looked really cool, but then Pete went and painted it. And so it had this blue kind of glacial tinge to it. It's like, okay, now it's really, really cool. And then we added some muslin over the top to make it look like snow draping over the stairs. And it's like, oh, now this is really cool. And then we added vines and some foliage and stuff. And then it's like, oh, well, this is even better.
Like even today, they added in more roses over there on the tree. And so I feel like I keep noticing new things about it every time I come on stage, which is also really cool. Because then for our audience members who are watching the show, they can notice different things every time they come to see the show too.
The little details just keep making it a little bit better and a little bit better. And it's a very subtle change, but it makes a huge impact. It's those details which really make the stage come alive.
I've learned a lot about just how much work goes into the set. So much work goes in everywhere. It's crazy.
Putting this stuff together takes a much longer time than I thought it did. Like that, as an audience member, I would look at the sets and I'd be like, wow, everything is so put together. They must have had this put together for a while. Like, I bet the actors had like 2 full weeks to just practice on a fully done set. Like, that was my understanding. And I get here and I'm like, okay, so we're still putting things together on opening night. All right, cool. I think I just have a better understanding and a better appreciation for the work that gets put into these shows. And I'm super proud of the outcome.